Branded by Women. It's been emotional. It's been 3 days, action-packed, over 30 speakers. This is our third and final show. First show kicked off on Tuesday. We had the kickoff show, which obviously had our three hosts, which is Michele, Venton, Athena Severi, and Isabella Hamilton. Then on the first night, which was our mindset, we had Athena and the ladies of Titan. Second night, we had Isabella and her team. And tonight, and the final night, is Michele Venton's team. So today we have Michele Venton. As I said, she's one of the co-hosts of Branded by Women. A little bit of background on Michele. She basically built the business from zero at home with a family, took care of a mother, and then exited for legacy money last year. I like to call her the unicorn with the rainbow within our community. Up next is Alicia Shapiro. You will see her tomorrow with me. We're going to do an in-depth with Alicia. She's been selling since mid-2000s and has done over 40 million in sales online. Melanie here, she heads up the team at Avask. So she's a big leader in our industry and runs the leading accounting firm as well. We also have Cara Sayer. She is known to take down all the big supermarket chains who tried to take her on for a product. She's a seven-figure seller and inventor with over 70 awards under her belt. Then finally, we have Sylwia Stevanovic, based in Poland, spent a lot of time in the UK, made her way up into the corporate world, and then the last 3 years ago or so, she launched her own brand in the fashion industry. So what I'm going to do now, guys, I'm going to come off screen. I'm going to hand everyone over to Michele. Have a good show, girls, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you.
Thanks, Danny. And gosh, listen to those introductions. What an amazing panel we've got. Yeah. Honestly, I'm so pumped for tonight. Last night, day 3 was released today, the Mastery. It's been a gorgeous day here in Bournemouth. So I've been on the beach most of the day, but the beauty of the way this whole summit has come together is that it's online. So I can dip in and out of the recordings. I've managed to watch about 5 of them today. It's been amazing. There's been a lot of presentations that I'm going to dig into tomorrow, or I'm going to just sort of put to one side till I'm ready to get into them. But it's been a great day, another day of some fantastic content. And ladies, Danny's done an amazing introduction to you all. Obviously, I know you all personally as well as professionally, and I can vouch for just the tremendous things that you've all achieved in your lives. But what I wanted to do this evening was everyone can listen to your presentations, they can find out more about you, and they can go into the topics and the subjects you presented. But to have you on for a whole hour is just like gold dust. So what I want to do is get straight into some questions. I want to pick your brains. I want to use the skills and the knowledge that you have so that the audience can benefit from everything that's up here, and we'll get as much of it out as we can, if that's all right with you. So I wanted to kick off first of all. So Alicia, it has been my pleasure to room with you in America and in China and in lots of places. I'd never met you before. We managed to share a room, and the rest is history, as they say. Kat is one of my best friends, and I've learned a lot from you, just throughout our journey. But yes, so Danny touched upon the fact that, you've done over 40 million in sales. That's in a number of businesses over a number of years. But one of the great assets that you can bring at the moment is you are a mentor for the Titan Network. And as a mentor, I know you spend an awful lot of time with people that are just coming into this industry or just launching their entrepreneurship journey. And I wanted to just pick your brain a little bit about that, because you see so many people, and you must see a lot of commonalities coming out of your mentoring sessions with them. So one of the things I wanted to ask you is, what's the most common problem or obstacle that you're finding with people that are just starting out on this journey? It could be an Amazon business. It might, obviously with Titan, it is going to be Amazon, but just in general, if I could pick your brain and, what are the commonalities you're finding, and what are the solutions?
Well, first of all, like within Titan, we have all these different levels, but I've been tasked by Athena and Dan to help the people who are new. Either they haven't started at all, or they have started and they're just having trouble like getting going. And the biggest mistake that I see generally, or the biggest difficulty, is people just getting started, right? Making decisions. And like the mistake that I see people making is that they're focusing on the product and not on the person. So I try to get people to take a step back and think about like the business as a whole. Like don't just focus on what product you want to launch, but what kind of business do you want to create? And I think that if you start there, it's a lot easier. I mean, it's what you did, right?
Yeah.
It's what I did with my first business. When I try to go back and look at what was my secret sauce, I was always focused on the customer and my relationship to that customer and how I understood them better than my competition, you know?
Yeah.
So we all come into this business. Look, most of us have come in either through ASM or through some other course. And so we all kind of have the same training. So what is the one thing that's different between, you and someone else who's had all that same training? And the difference is you. Like, what do you bring to the table that's different? How do you think about things differently? So that I think is the way I try to guide them. And then, of course, I give like very specific details, which like I went through in my presentation on how to pick products or whatever. But really taking that bird's eye view and thinking about what do you want to be doing for the next 3 to 5 years of your life, at least.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, great point. And I think half of the problem is we all come into it through the same courses and they all start off with finding that first product, and they can take you through spreadsheets and they can take you through BSRs, and you're all trained to kind of look for a product that people are searching on Amazon that will sell well. Yeah. Well, that's great. That's your training ground because you have to understand Amazon as a platform, and you have to understand, how you can see sales levels and competitors, etc. But you're right. Once you've had that training, what do you do next? And I think, without a doubt, if you come away from the product, you're never going to be able to scale one product, not easily. You have to be able to sort of have a wider vision to be able to put processes in place that keeps it just scaling naturally. So I think that's a really point.
Like, you definitely need that training. And you then, once you think about that, you then have to filter those concepts through the validation process. You still need to do that work.
Yeah.
But it's just a lot easier. Otherwise, there's 12 million products on Amazon and you're just going through category after category, and it just doesn't make sense to me. So
absolutely.
That's what I try to guide people in, is to try to narrow their focus based on what they know.
Yeah. And it leads, and it leads in brilliant to Cara, you came into this industry. You didn't have a clue about ASM. You didn't have a clue about, selling on Amazon, because yours was product focused, but it was more on the need for the product. So again, focusing on the customer, wasn't it? And what can be delivered. And anybody who's listened to your presentation, can know your story, but it just goes to show there are so many different ways to succeed by using Amazon as your sales platform. So what do you feel about what Alicia just said? Oh, you're on mute, I think.
Well, I think what Alicia says is absolutely right. No, I'm off mute. Okay. I should be. Can you hear me?
Yep, you dropped off, but go on.
I think her mouth.
Can you hear me okay?
Not synced.
Okay. Sorry, that's my that's naked gun coming out. Or whatever it was. Anyway, so what is really interesting is I completely agree with everything that Alicia says, and I completely disagree with what Alicia says in many ways, but that's purely because of the fact that I came from it purely wanting to create a product that solved my own problem that I had, and then I felt that other parents would also appreciate having a product that did that. Now, I didn't have spreadsheets. I didn't know about validation. I didn't know about any of these things. I just kind of asked quite a few people whether they thought it was a good idea. And then I went and spent my life savings investing in 10,000 units of a product that didn't exist before. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say that's the most sensible course of action when you're launching a business. But the one thing I would 100% agree with on Alicia is customer focus and loving your customers is one thing I see a lot of, and forget just being Amazon sellers, ordinary, like other product brands, you have to love your customers, okay? You have to give them love, because if you do, then they create an emotional bond with you, and that's what helps you start creating a real brand versus just a name for a business. And that's effectively how you really scale up, is by creating a brand.
Yeah, absolutely. And Melanie, that also can tie in. So obviously Melanie runs Avast, which is, as Danny said, one of the leading accountancy firms that specializes in Amazon businesses. And my company, we used Avast, and I've worked closely with Melanie for a few years. But you're also in such a unique position, Melanie, which is why I wanted to have you on, because you can see hundreds of Seller Central account customers, and clients come through to you. So you can see a lot of the financials of what's working and what's not working. And in your opinion, from looking at, obviously you can't go into details about clients, but as a general sort of broad theme, the clients that are having the most success and they're scaling up, are they, can you see any commonalities in what you're seeing there? Oh,
I'm muted.
You're all right now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I would say there isn't any one size fits all for entrepreneurs, and it depends on which structure or strategy you came in through. So people like Cara, maybe they came in at the time whereby there wasn't so many facilities or resources out there that could help them to come into e-commerce. So they learned the hard way without anybody holding their hand. But there is now, the people that have come in have been given some tools to come in. Now, how much can you educate somebody for just a few months and say, go and run your business successfully? The answer to that is no. At the end of the day, it's down to the entrepreneur in terms of like which route they want to take for their business, and also if they've got that burning hunger. I would say the main obstacles or mistakes that you could say that are there is that most of entrepreneurs, when they come into business, it's just a one-man band. The question is, how do you scale that? How do you make sure that you can compete with the big boys? Do you have sufficient funding for you to be able to scale your business? But there is a lot of factors that are there that I would say entrepreneurs, they go through, to be honest. It's not a one size fits all.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the messages that I've been keen to kind of keep reiterating, is that, Amazon has changed so much since 2012, 13, 14. The platform is wide open now to so many different types of sellers, whether it's wholesale, whether it's retail, private label, whether it's brand ownership, whatever you think suits you. It's your business, it's your dream, it's your vision. You can just use Amazon as your sales platform. Yes, you have to understand it, you have to make sure there's demand on there, but exactly as you said, one size does not fit all. So from the businesses that you're seeing having the most success, Alicia, coming back to you in Titan, you mentioned not focusing 100% on product and focusing on your customer and your who. Are you seeing any sort of commonalities with the businesses or the clients that you're seeing that are having the most success? What's sort of leading the way in that respect?
I think it's action, right? It's the ones that are, I like to say that perfect is the enemy of great, and great is the enemy of good. Like, I just want people to yes, think about it, validate your product, just move. Take action, start making a plan, and it doesn't have to be perfect. I know that Danny had done like this whole presentation recently on the weekend about perfection. So I know they covered that well, but those are the ones that are being super successful. I see them taking action and they're not getting bogged down in the what ifs.
Yep. Absolutely. And Sylv, coming over to you, I don't know if everyone's had the chance to listen to your presentation yet, but again, a different type of business coming at it. You didn't start off in the Amazon world. I believe you're in a factory by accident and saw some leftover stock on the floor, asked what they were going to do with it, decided to buy it, and that's what kickstarted your journey. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's
yeah. So going back, and so again, exactly what Alicia said, you took action. And then just give us a little bit about where you've come from now, how that happened to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've just listened to everything you ladies said, and I love everything. And I think I'm quite similar to you, Cara, in terms of my journey, you know, how I started, and it wasn't an Amazon seller. And I don't even like the term, I'm an Amazon seller. I don't understand it. From my point of view, I'm a brand owner and I sell on Amazon. So that's how I see my business. And I think it's very important, especially being in fashion, to build that your identity, you know, what you stand for, what values your brand has got, because more and more customers are looking for that. And you need to distinguish yourself if you want to stay in the game in fashion. That's just the reality of it. It's so saturated, so high risk. Returns, changing seasons, you know, just like everything, keeping an eye on your cash flow, it's tough. So for that, I feel, number one, you really have to understand who your customer is, where you're going with it. And as you said, you know, I didn't start in e-commerce, and I'm so glad that I didn't, because I did go and I did speak to so many different retailers of lingerie in my first 12 months when I started. So that gave me a really good view of the industry, what was really important, what the customers were looking for, because that's what the retailers were looking for from me as a wholesaler. So, you know, I went to the shop floors, to big department stores. I talked to women. You know, I packed suitcases of lingerie when I started, and I went on the road from a city to a city. And, you know, I've learned so much. I was just like absorbing knowledge like no tomorrow. And it really, really helped me to fully understand, you know, what I want to do next with this.
Yeah, totally. And again, I just think it's great. You know, so many people, we've all ended up in the same industry, but we've all, you know, got here through so many different challenges. Now, obviously, you're selling in the clothing, in the lingerie niche, in apparel and clothing. And I know you've had some struggles with that selling on Amazon. Anyone who's come through the sort of training routes, the traditional ASM, are told to stay clear of it for the very reasons you said, you know, the returns, the sizing, etc. So do you see that as an opportunity for you, or as a threat? Is Amazon not going to be the right channel for your brand?
I think it really depends where you want to go with your brand. If you're looking for app market, a luxury space, maybe you don't want to be selling on Amazon. You know, sometimes when you're looking to acquire a little bit of that luxury feel to your brand, the association of being on Amazon or eBay might not go in your favor, especially if you want to also talk to department stores, luxury department stores like Harrods or Selfridges in London, you know. So that's something to consider. Now, when you are on the opposite side to the cheaper clothing, your biggest competitor on Amazon will be Chinese factories. You know, this wholesale model doesn't work anymore here, I don't feel. And you've got fashion starting from $2 up to $12, and you can never compete with that in that Amazon space. So I say, don't even go there. I'm in lingerie, so I work with 30,000 variations in bras alone. If you want to go into bras, forget about it. Don't do it on Amazon, please don't, because it's just going to destroy your business. I saw a training once about how to be a successful underwear seller on Amazon, and that was a training about bras, and I'm like, oh my god, people, please don't even buy this training. But you know, it's really important to say that when you're starting with fashion, keep it simple. Don't make it overcomplicated. Keep standard sizing, you know, sizing that will fit most people. Don't go overboard. Don't try to be too fancy. Just test the waters. Go for basic colors to start with. Take them to Amazon if you want to, just black, nude, or white, and just test the waters that way, you know. Just be careful, start slow and keep it simple.
Yeah, and I think that can be said for any new seller or any new brand on Amazon as well. Is you know, you do your due diligence, you do your research, you've got this great idea, you think it's going to be amazing, you know, you think it's going to scale up to an 8-figure brand, and something just doesn't quite click. So what you don't want to do is take those huge risks and put all of your eggs in one basket at the beginning. You know, launch one color SKU, and then if that's successful, add in some more variations if there's a need to do that. If not, move on to another SKU. So I couldn't agree with that more. Even with my new brand that I'm launching, you know, I think it's going to be fantastic. And yes, I've had success in the past, but you know, for every five ideas you have, 4 of them are probably not going to lead you to where you want to go, but you have to keep throwing them up there to see, you know, which one gets traction. So absolutely keep it simple, and you know, definitely don't put all your cash into too many SKUs at once until you've got that proof. And Melanie, you were nodding along there as well, so I guess you can see this quite a lot with your clients. I mean, running out of cash flow, putting too much cash behind too many SKUs too quickly. You did say in your presentation that to scale up, just keep diversifying, adding more SKUs, but what can you add to that?
Yeah, definitely. I would say diversification is key, but at the same time, what you need to do, you don't want to buy a lot of SKUs at the same time. If you've got a couple of SKUs and you're adding on that, I've got one client at the moment who's selling just one SKU, and I was talking to them today. I was like, okay, you've got one SKU that is very, very successful. What happens then if things go wrong on this one SKU that you're holding on to? Because you are closer to 1 million, so you need to look at adding. And it was like, what else can I actually add on? I don't want to add anything. I don't want too many products. It's like you really need to start looking at doing some bolt-on products that are going to be complementing what you are doing. Now, I would say one of the hardest or an obstacle for e-sellers or people that are starting out, it's funding. And that suppresses the scalability. Now, smaller businesses are not seen, especially online, they are not seen by banks as serious businesses. That is changing slowly, whereby banks now, they are really more listening to them, that this is actually going to be a business. Why? Because they are seeing more and more people taking it online. So I would say, yes, diversify, yes, scale, whether you're doing it horizontally by your SKUs and also by marketplaces. Now, to concentrate only on Amazon, the competition out there is rife. You cannot stick to one platform. There is loads of platforms that are out there. I was in another presentation yesterday with Frugo and Rakuten. Now, who knew that Prime Minister is still alive in France? I thought they were dead.
No, yeah, they are.
So I discovered that now they're actually back. They've got their own entrance strategy on the market, with which they use with customers to attract more customers on their platforms. So I would say definitely diversification is key, and also not holding on to losers. All the products that are wasting your time, kill them, get rid of them, no point. And concentrate on what's going to be making money. All your winners, that's where you should be focusing too. But also, just one more thing that I would add is that with funding, I find that funding is one of the most important things from a business that is looking to scale. For you guys that are able to sell as much as possible during this time, do that. Make sure that you are keeping some money for the rainy day as well.
Yes, so many nuggets in that bit there, Melanie. I mean, in terms of funding, I couldn't agree with you more. You know, when you hear people, and we all like to talk about 7-figure sellers, 8-figure sellers, etc., what you're not seeing is the reality that they've actually got no cash to keep investing and to keep moving forward. So absolutely, it's a struggle. But like you, I mean, high street banks these days, we just don't even go near them because they don't understand our business model. You know, they can't believe the numbers that we're doing. So they're just full of, you know, confusion with how that happens. But every quarter, there's a new funding facility that's opening up that's geared to our industry, which is great. But, you know, that cash need never goes away. The bigger you get, and you know, the more sales you're doing, your cash need the capital just keeps growing and growing, and you get a bigger and bigger headache, which is why an exit is on the table for so many people, as it was for myself. You know, every time we approached a key season, that need just kept getting bigger and bigger. So yeah, totally worth bringing up, and also the diversification. But what I would say is, whilst you don't just want to focus on one sales channel, it's really important to remember, especially in the early days, to become a master of one at one time. Otherwise you lose your focus. So, you know, one customer, one sales channel, and maybe one social media channel, or one strategy that's working for you for launches and ranks. Just focus on that until you're starting to see success and you've got it under your belt, and then you can start to move on. But if you try and do everything at the same time, if you try and master Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, all at the same time, you're going to drown, and your eyes are going to be taken off, you know, off the main key indicators that you need to be focused on. The same with Amazon. If you try and learn Amazon at the same time you're learning Shopify, at the same time you're learning Walmart, you're going to be running around like a headless chicken. So I think it's really important to get your focus and then start that diversification as you grow. Absolutely. We had a question here. Can you also talk about the concept of risk? One thing I see a lot of people having trouble with is analysis paralysis and moving forward. I think we can all talk about that, because, you know, it's very easy to say take action, but you kind of get stuck in, if you've only got a certain amount of capital and this is your life savings and this is your one time to invest it, you're going to be very nervous about letting go to that. So let's just touch on that first of all. Cara, have you got anything to say on that? Because I know you put in your 30,000, didn't you?
I certainly did. And as I said, I probably wouldn't necessarily recommend that everyone follow that exact same course of action. But I do find that, I think one of the other things is that sometimes the way that selling on Amazon is presented as a business concept forgets that it's actually a business. And therefore, it's quite normal to make a loss in the first few years. And in fact, I actually wish I'd made more of a loss in the first few years, because what I did is I just didn't pay myself. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. I should have shoved way more cost into the business in the early years, so I could have then offset my profit against the tax ramifications. Now, that's something I've learned the hard way. So let me just give you to that as a little juicy golden nugget. The other thing as well is that I think it was Melanie was saying about profit and what have you. Now, as everyone knows, and I put it in my presentation, turnover is vanity and profit is sanity. Now, I don't give a flying cahoodle what level seller you are. I just want you to be making a decent amount of profit so that you can actually call yourself a viable business. And for example, interesting what you were saying, Michele, about how if you get too big. Now, one of my things is I don't want to get much bigger, if I'm brutally honest, because I'm quite happy floating along like early 7 figures. Obviously, at the moment, I got hit by COVID, so I'm a bit of a lower 6-figure seller at the moment. But hey, guess what? I don't give a flying. Because again, it's not about like what you're about the perception. I don't need like Learjets and Ferraris and all that rubbish to know that my business is a really successful, viable one. And that's what really business is about. It's about numbers. And actually, if you look at your numbers, then actually that is what helps you take a better risk. So for me, I risked that 30 grand and I could afford to lose it. I mean, it was my life savings, don't get me wrong, and I would have been absolutely devastated. But I always think, don't put in more money than you can afford to lose when you're starting your business. And that's why you get completely paralyzed. And it's better to take it slower, but build it and then get the business to actually start creating the money from which you fund the growth of the business. So I now have 13 SKUs, and I remember standing on a stand at a German trade show, and I had all these people around me who are running successful baby brands, and I was like, wow, they've got like 10 products. They've got like, 8 products. I've only got 1 product. I can't think of any more. And actually what happened was, the other thing is, listen to your customers. Your customers tell you what they want, but you have to actually sell to them for long enough and communicate with them, right? And actually listen to them. So when they're saying bad stuff, take it on board. And then basically, adjust your business accordingly. And what Melanie said about, I think, kill your losing products, I kind of don't agree with that either, because actually I've got some products that are very slow sellers. But what they do is they pad out my range and they give my customer the perception of a wider choice. So I have some products, I only order like 1,200, like every couple of years. I've got others, I'm ordering 20,000 every like 6 months, a year, So I think it's about like balance. I'm a big one for balancing and not like extremes, but just fucking go for it, right? If you're going to start a business, just bloody do it.
And I think that's you, because you've got the accountant and then you've got the entrepreneur. So 2 totally different sides there. And I completely see that, so I'm in agreement with you. I loved having my slower selling SKUs because they kind of, they just made the brand so much wider.
They're like your granny and your grandpa, they don't move that fast, but hey, you still love them.
Yeah, but when an accountant starts looking at your figures and they show you how much cash is tied up in that one SKU and what you could be doing with it and how much more you can be making it, then you're like, oh yeah, okay, I see it from the other side. So it's really interesting to hear those 2 views, and they both take place for sure. But it took me a while to let go of some SKUs that I fell in love with, but actually having the cash then to launch another one, I got all excited about the new one. So it worked really well. But anything else about risk, Sylv?
Yeah, can I mention actually about SKUs? Because I got stuck a bit, when was it, like 12 months ago? Because in fashion, if you want to launch a new line, normally it's, you have to order at least 4 sizes and you want more than 1 color. So it all adds up in terms of your expenditure. and your manufacturing costs might end up being, you know, hundreds of thousands of pounds. And then you're like, well, I'm just testing a new line. I don't want to be spending that much, because you've got quite high MOQs per you know, size and color. So this makes it all very complex and very expensive. But, you know, nowadays we've got so many different channels, you know, thinking about this omni-channel solution. If you go to Facebook or Instagram, you can actually launch just one line, just one, you know, style, and you're good to go. So I also feel that don't get stuck in terms of, oh my God, I can't do much because it's so expensive to launch and I cannot have more than one. What do I do? Don't I do anything? Do I just sit and wait to get more cash? I think just start with one and you're good to go. You can use social media for it to start with, because you don't have enough for your own website yet, but still go and do it.
Yeah, and I think that's the joy of selling on Amazon. I mean, as sellers, we know all about, you know, how many SKUs we have and how many variations we have. But let's face it, a customer who types in a keyword on Amazon, they just want to look at a product they're looking for that's got a nice safety net around it, that's got good reviews, that's got a good ranking. If you've only offered it in black, do they know you've only got it in black? You know, maybe they don't need the purple with white spots on it. So, you know, yes, you want to scale it up, but when you're starting, that's the beauty of Amazon. If you have one hero SKU in one color that all gets all of your sales, then that's fine. You don't need to spread yourself that thin. And I think sometimes as sellers, we look at it through a seller's lens rather than a customer's lens. But Melanie, I'm keen to get your take on risk as well. Obviously, coming from an accountant's point of view, you know, when people are starting out, and the other problem I think is in our training that we've come through, we're told that you can get rich off 500 quid in your back pocket. So of course, if you've got 500 quid or $5,000 in your back pocket, you know, that's all you've got. And that's really hard to launch a business, as, you know, with that amount of capital. And that's not the reality of it. And if anybody tells you that, then I don't think they're telling the truth at all. We have to be a bit more realistic about that. So, you know, from an accountant's point of view, what can you say to help people manage that risk?
You know, there's different successes that have been there. There is people, honestly, that have gone in and launched products started from 5,000 and they've been really successful. Now, I'm going to go back a few years ago. Remember fidget spinners when they first came in? So a client of mine could only buy 300. They sold within less than 8 hours. And he went back again to China to basically recycle the same amount of money. Now, it grew, but it was a business for now. So he took it on. I remember him coming to the boardroom and saying, right, Melanie, I have redesigned it. It's got my logo. And I thought, this product is going to be going. Do not invest in any branding on it, because everybody is selling it. And I had just come back from the US with my Times Square. It was all over the place. And I came back to him and said, you shouldn't, seriously, do not invest in this. Just buy this nonsense from China and come back and sell it. If it's selling fast, do that. Get rid of it as fast as possible. Now, few months later, I think it was about 4 or 5 months, the whole thing died a natural death. That is risk. Now, how much should you actually put in? So imagine if he had then taken money from his property, some of the capital to invest in that. The whole thing would have died a natural death. So for me, I would say, if you're going to be doing business, just make sure that you have money that you may not get back for another 24 months. I would say, but usually you can't launch again on Amazon within, if you're going to be going on Amazon for 6 months and hoping that your business would be spiraling out of control. It does take a lot of work. I think it's harder now than it used to be. So when you're coming in now, I would say seriously, do your proper research if this is going to be the route that you're going to be taking. Look at the channels, look at the products that are being sold out there, your competition as well, know exactly as to which country is going to be selling more or less. Language localization is key. There is a lot of factors that you should consider in order for you to seriously avoid the risk. But the risk in any business when you're starting, it's going to be there either way. How many people go through and win on Amazon? Loads of them. You just have to keep going.
Yep, absolutely. And as I said, you know, you could throw 5 SKUs up there and 4 of them flop. You only need that one. I mean, that's part of the whole process, and that's learning. That's all experience. It's going to take you a longer time to get your cash out if you've got a slow moving product, but you're learning all the time. So it's not necessarily money down the drain. And Alicia, when you're mentoring some of the newest people, that must be a massive sort of obstacle that people are trying to overcome, taking that first step and trying to get through the risk.
It's the biggest mistake. You had asked me earlier what the biggest mistake was that people make. And I think that it's the idea that they can come in and buy 100 units or 500 units. I just think that that's not a thing. I don't understand where they're getting that concept from. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, they're doing it to test the market. They have this idea that they can do that and see if it works or not. But if people don't see your listing, you don't know if it works or not.
Yeah.
And if you only have 100 units or 500 units, you're never going to get to page 1 to even have people see it in the first place. Yep. So really do your job, do your due diligence, figure out what you want to sell. If you don't have the capital, then that's what you need to figure out first, right? Figure out your capital and infuse it and take the risk.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're in this business or you're not.
Yeah, and you know, we sort of talk about it in an Amazon context, and I appreciate there's people listening into this call that aren't Amazon sellers, but the risk is, you know, in some ways a lot bigger when you're not selling on Amazon and you've got a brick and mortar store, because you've got so many overheads and you've got staff bills and everything else. So, you know, it's very easy to bash the e-commerce side and think, oh, it's too risky and everyone else is doing it. But, you know, I've come from a background where I had three shops and I ain't ever going back there again. The overheads, you know, were just, I don't know how anyone can ever make a profit on that. But, you know, Cara, you've sold it through other channels. I wanted to touch on this as well. So before you came onto Amazon, I know you were selling through some
countries.
Yeah, and retailers. But tell us the experience there compared to selling on Amazon, because there might be some people that are trying to decide, well, I've got a great product. Do I sell it through retailers? Do I sell it through different e-commerce channel? But you've got some experience of selling in a variety.
Yeah, so it very much depends on the product. So if you've got a high value item, then actually selling through retailers is a lot easier, because of the fact that actually, you know, for example, in the baby industry, your prams, your strollers, those sorts of things. Now, people also need like one-to-one advice on it. They need to be shown how to put it together, etc., etc. They may well still go, and I know a lot of retailers, they may still go away from the retailer and go and buy it online wherever they can buy it cheapest. However, you know, there are certain products, and also where there's a margin, you know, because the problem is one of my best-selling products is £20. Now, there's not much margin on that. And if you're a bricks and mortar store, then you've actually got to give up shelf space for this product that you're probably going to make a small amount of money on. Now, when I was selling to distributors, I was making like literally like £1 something per unit. So I'd have had to have sold literally like 1 million units to be doing 7 figures. Well, I don't sell 1 million units now, but I make so much more profit, and my costs are a lot lower than selling on retail. And actually what always makes me laugh is I see all these people complaining about Amazon's fees. Are you fucking kidding with me? Right? You should try selling to John Lewis, okay? Because they will screw you for 60% margin minimum. They then charge you an 8% settlement fee, which is for the pleasure of the fact that they actually pay you on the 30-day deadline that they're supposed to. Now, and then you've also got the marketing exposure campaigns that you have to contribute to. So I can assure you, having seen the other side, I'm like, every day I'm like, okay, I do have what I call my Amazon white streak, which is where the hair of like has gone white because of the stress of dealing with Seller Central. But I also have my Amazon happy dance, right? Because even though I'm only doing 6 figures at the moment, I'm making more profit than I would be if I mean, I do still have some retailers, a few of them, but very, very few. And also you've got international distribution ability. So I had an American distributor. They bought like £30,000 worth of stock from me. It took them about 2.5 years to shift it. They were selling on Amazon. I did like 60,000 in the first like 3 or 4 months of selling on Amazon in the US. And so, you know, the thing is also the other opportunity here as well, which I think sometimes we forget, because you're Amazon sellers and I'm a bit like Silva. I'm a bit like, I'm not an Amazon seller. It's my biggest sales channel. But the thing, what you also forget is there are loads of really big brands out there who are doing a really shit job on Amazon. And so you actually have got a great opportunity if you actually do do what you're taught on how to write really good listings. Make sure you're like picking up, you know, all the keywords, because people aren't looking for brands on Amazon. 78% of searches are unbranded, right? So one of my biggest leaps in sales came from the fact I got off my high horse and I actually stopped using snooze shade so much in the title, as if like, ooh, everyone's looking for snooze shade. Well, yeah, a lot of people are, to be fair, but more people are looking for a brand sunshade.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what I do now. So I don't, you know, you've got to get off your attitude, and you've got to start really looking at what people really want to buy.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. You know, so many times now everybody's talking about create a brand, and that is fundamentally
that's people too.
Yes, it is, because you can get behind a brand and you know who your audience is and you know what your brand looks like, and it just makes the process so much easier and so much more enjoyable and so much more scalable. But you're absolutely right. People type in a keyword and they're just looking for the product that's, you know, within the top half of page one, that's got good reviews on it and good images and it's converting really well. So I think we can get lost in that. But equally, if you go down the branding route, not so much from a customer's point of view, like, oh, I've got this big brand and everyone's searching for it. No, they're not. That's not the reality. But what it does do is it makes everything so much easier when it comes to your communication, when it comes to your packaging, when it comes to compliance, when it comes to your social media. Everything kind of comes together a lot stronger if you run it as a traditional brand and not just a single SKU on Amazon. Because, go on.
I was just going to say, and the one thing also that I've like written down, because I'm taking notes, because otherwise I lose track. But what I've got in like a square is passionate, right?
Yeah.
You've got to be like, this will get rid of your risk like fear in a moment. If you're passionate about what you're doing, okay? Because the problem is a lot of people who are doing these courses, they're just doing it to make money. And if you're just doing something to make money, then actually it's really difficult to get that excited. So I always say to people when I'm talking to them, like I get asked about it, I'm not really interested, if I'm brutally honest, with dealing with like Amazon sellers who are trying to start a brand like in that way. I help people who have product brands get on Amazon. But I always say to people, because I get inventors, a lot of mad inventors, I'm a mad inventor. And I always say to them, you know, make sure you do something you love, like you have a passion for, because the thing is, when there are shit days, and there are plenty of them, I can assure you, you've got to have that passion to be able to pick yourself up off the floor and keep going. And if you're not passionate about your kitchen spatulas or your garlic presses or your fidget spinners or whatever else it is, like, for example, Melanie's example of the guy who did really well with one fad. If you started a brand that was all about being up with the latest fads, and like as soon as a new fad comes out, you're there and you're on it and you're out there before everyone else, you've potentially got a really nice little business there. But you've got to be passionate about what you do. If you just hit a lucky jackpot and you you happen to find a fidget spinner before everyone else, like, great, made loads of money, and now what am I going to do?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that was me. The first 18 months I was selling lots of random stuff from China, trying to learn Amazon sales platform, which was essential at the time. But I just said, no, I can't do this anymore. You know, this is not what my dream was. This is not what my passion was. And it certainly wasn't going to get me through the next 5 years of talking to Seller Central on the phone, or all of those, you know, or speaking to my accountant who's going through figures with me that, you know, sometimes were very stressful. You've got to have that passion. I couldn't resonate more. And Sylv, like you know, you're in the lingerie industry, but you also cross over with some of the Amazon world as well. But your passion is in the lingerie, because you could have easily have ditched that by now and thought, well, hey, hang on a minute. That, you know, it's not an easy product to sell for all of the reasons you've described, but you've stuck with it because obviously it's something that, you know, that you're really passionate about.
It is. And it's also about, you know, do you see your industry as a challenge or as an opportunity? And I think the longer you do it, the more you understand your audience and your product, you will realize that it's not about looking for different industries to tap into and looking for that next big thing. It's actually about making the most of what you've got. And even in my crazy difficult, you know, niche, there's just so many different opportunities that you can take and make life very easy for yourself and actually do much better than selling plastic from China. So, you know, there is a bit of that as well, but you really have to be vigilant, and you really have to, you know, follow, as you say, follow your heart, your sixth sense, you know, get the feel for what you're doing, talk to customers, understand their needs, you know, all of that, because that will keep you going, and that will give you new kind of ideas, what to do next, and how to grow your business.
Yeah.
Michele, I wanted to say something really quick on that point. I love everything that you guys just said. And I kind of marry the the passion and the emotional side with the technical side. Like at the end of the day, we are in like the inventory business and like the keyword business, but by understanding your customer, you will come up with words that your competitors don't. So for me, like my first product wasn't my very first product, but my first big product was a hero product. And I did 7 figures on the one product. And the way I beat the competition was that I was focusing on different keywords, because my competition were a bunch of men who just thought it was about anti-aging or that sort of thing. And I understood the customer because I was her. And I know I was focused on these types of issues since I was 19 or 20. So I just added a lot of other types of keywords that I knew people would be searching for that my product addressed.
Yeah.
Right? So that passion really does couple with like the technical side as well.
And also you can create keywords. I've actually created keywords, right? So I've been in business now for 10 years and I've seen the keywords change. Like some of the words that I use in my listing, I see my competitors using. And so therefore it starts becoming a bleeding keyword. And I'm like, hang on a minute, that didn't even exist 5 years ago.
And that's exactly what I mean, Cara, because like for my product, funnily enough, my main product was something that was being done by like a guru in our space when I first started. And a friend of mine went to a conference and he used my listing against his listing to show an example of how a new seller or someone else can come up with keywords that they never thought of. And you just kind of you associate, the keywords might exist in the sense that I knew these things existed. That's why I added them to my listing, but they didn't show up in any tool.
Yeah, I mean,
there was no such thing as a reverse ASIN tool when I started.
No, God, no. I mean, all this sort of stuff will come a lot later on. But I mean, it's fantastic as well because you can sit there sort of pumping other people's listings. But at the same time, sometimes you think, actually, I don't really want to pump that.
No, that sounds like a conversation for another day.
That is a conversation with a glass of wine.
Yes, exactly.
One thing,
martini.
One thing I wanted to mention about this also is that you will be really surprised how little your customers know about your niche. And I learned that every single day when it comes to lingerie. And as a female, you know, when I was going into this, I thought I know as much as I need to know, right? But your passion, the dedication, you know, speaking with conviction really is contagious with your customers, and they learn so much from you, how to get the fitting right, you know, what to look out for, how to best match styles to your figure. You know, it's very personal and they love it. And the number of amazing reviews we get as a result of that, to have that expertise that is very contagious, you know, they just want to learn from you. It's amazing, and it really does wonders for your brand.
And that's what the social media side of things is for, because that's where you can create, basically, rather than just being on Amazon, you're creating a much bigger picture for your customer. So they feel that they can actually come to you and get like tips and this and that. And also one of the other things that I always bang on about is that actually, if you've got some passion for what you're doing, then actually Amazon is a really impersonal place. And to be honest, actually, like e-commerce full stop is I'm not just e-commerce. So always bring out your story. You know, why are you selling? What is your business why? What's your personal why as to why you're doing this? Because people buy from people, even on Amazon. And I get reviews all the time and saying, you can tell this was invented by a mum. You can tell that, you know, blah, and it's because I pull that story out because, I mean, to be fair, it's the truth. I am a mum, only one, thank God. But, you know, but the thing is that, you know, it's one of the things I think that people forget to talk about in their listings, right? Yeah. It's not just about keywords. It is also about personality and actually bringing that out and making your again, this emotional engagement with you and that's where you get a brand versus a product, because a brand is where you have an emotional attachment versus a product, which is usually just about features and benefits.
Yeah, and there's a brilliant presentation from one of the ladies on today's show, Bev Hepting, and she's exactly that. She's a TED talker and a TED speaker, and it's exactly that. It's about bringing out your story and injecting that in. So that's a great presentation to watch if you haven't.
Plus or whatever. Yeah, it's really good for that.
Yeah, we've got a question here as well that I think we can get into. It's from Tenderheart, and it says, I'm a graphic artist and poet. What's the first step to selling my t-shirts on Amazon? And what I would say is, well, if you're an artist and a poet, then obviously you've got passion for it. It's what you do. But if you want to start selling them on Amazon, then obviously we're marrying up what Alicia said. It's the technical side with the passion side. So, you know, that's what I do. If I come up with an idea or something I think is great or something I'm passionate about, I then have to use the tools that we've all got available to us, you know, and you may or may not be aware of them. They'll be on the presentations that we've heard of today, but to make sure there's demand on Amazon for it. Some products can be hugely successful, but nobody looks for it on Amazon or nobody looks for it online. They go to their local chemist or they go to their local hardware store. So you have to go on and you have to do your research to make sure that that platform is the right one for you. So go, Alicia.
But also,
there's Amazon merch is like,
Yes.
the question, but there's also a ton of print on demand services that you can use that aren't necessarily merch that you can still post things on Amazon with. It is a little bit sketchy though, because you need to make sure that their delivery times are going to match. So if you're going to do print on demand and you're not using merch, then it can be tricky because of that. So you don't want your Amazon account dinged. So you might want to sell on Facebook or do some other ways of promoting that. Kara, were you going to say this?
And just to clarify, in case Tenderheart doesn't know what that is, it's a thing called merch by Amazon, where you can do print on demand of a whole load of products. It's really cool because you don't need any stock, and Amazon just prints it as you sell it. So it's a really good way of testing stuff. I've actually done some KDP, which is the digital publishing stuff as well, with Snooshade, and that's been really fun because I just load it up and then I just leave it, and if it sells, it's great, and if it doesn't, I don't give a shit.
I was going to say that it is a different business model than what we're talking about, because there isn't really that sense of knowing how to optimize your listing. The Amazon merch, they don't give you a lot of opportunity to personalize your pages.
You can do a fair bit actually, like using some of the Amazon tools that I've got. So I've done that with my KDP stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but you know, but if you wanted to put t-shirts on the main Amazon platform, there's a huge demand for t-shirts, but you would have to have a keyword that was being searched for. So it could be, I don't know,
Banksy.
Sorry?
Like Banksy or something, you know, like Banksy t-shirts where people are looking for
absolutely. Or surf, you know, the word surf or the word whatever, golfing or whatever, you know. So you have to make sure, but you can do it lots of different ways. But again, it's a good way of marrying up the passion that we talk about in the brand, but you've got to marry it up with the technical side. The same way if you were going to open up a brick and mortar store, you've got to make sure that people are actually going to be walking down that street, you know, before you open it up there. So you still have to do all that research. And there are so many tools for those of you that don't come from the Amazon world. And I know we've been talking a lot about that. You know, YouTube it, FBA businesses, ASM, it's all on there. You can find your way the same way we all have. It's not a walk in the park. It takes some time. And it takes some effort, but doesn't everything that's worth doing? Absolutely.
It's still much less than anything else. Like getting back to that risk, when people complain about those fees, it just drives me crazy. How much money does it cost to open a restaurant, and how many fail in the first year? Like that business alone is like the riskiest business.
Yeah. And Melanie, you know, you must see so many in your accountant history, so many different business models out there. And yes, when you look at the Amazon percentages that they take, you know, 50-odd%, you know, before you've done anything. And yes, some people will fall over at that and think that's crazy, but you must have seen, you know, how do you think it works comparable with other industries? Oh, you're on mute.
Amazon business, good. Amazon business is obviously you've got the high Amazon fees, you've got your marketing, but also if you're thinking about brick and mortar, you are going to be having your business rates, which other people never think about. You've got your storefront. You have to have a person there manning that store every day. And the only holiday they'll ever have is Christmas Day. And that is just an unnecessary expense. So I would say online is more attractive. It's more mobile. You can take it wherever you go. Brick and mortar, you're going to be waiting for that client. The advantage of brick and mortar is that you will know your clients better as to what they want. You can sympathize with them and you get a more experience. I would say for people that are moving from brick and mortar to online, they have a lot of advantages over people that have just gone straight online, because they know their clientele better and they've spoken to them. So which means for you that is just taking things to online, you really need to communicate with your clients so that you know exactly as to what they want from you. And again, online is got more, I would say, global client base, as opposed to expecting one person to come in one Saturday every hour. So online, definitely, I would say for me, from our businesses. Even as an accountancy firm, we've got our clientele, 80% of it's online, which is a huge number as compared to where we were a few years ago. I mean, we started on brick and mortar businesses, but it became obvious that the competition was so much. Everybody is fighting over that contractor, over the shops and the restaurants. And I just thought, I can't be asked on this. Is there another better business plan or a business way that you could adopt as a person? And again, entrance to online, I personally think that it's better than brick and mortar. You don't have to be signing any of the lengthy contracts. So, and the resources there, you can run basically your business by yourself without engaging an employee or a PA. But of course, you need to make sure that the moment it starts getting busy, you can even engage VAs, which is going to work much better.
Yeah. Okay, ladies, we've got about 5 minutes left. Oh, yeah, go on quick, Sylv.
Just last one, because I feel that I do have a brick and mortar store as well. So I totally understand what you're saying. And it's true. It's such a big learning ground, you know. I've seen so many women. So it's just like amazing to learn about their silhouettes, what they like, what they want to hide, what they want to show. So it's amazing. But if you don't have that available, I would say just get yourself to a shop floor, you know, and just watch people, what they're looking for, what they're touching, what they're trying on, what they're saying in the fitting room. Just go and hide in the fitting room and listen to people. I'm telling you, in one day, you can learn so much.
Oh, I love a bit of stalking. Yeah. I stalk a lot in shops for my old brand. I mean, I would follow people to see which shops they went into last. I'd lurk around the till, hear what they were talking about. I'd pretend to be a customer and ask what their best-selling product was. I love a bit of stalking when it comes to that. You can get so much great research. Cara, you're a stalker. You're muted.
Oh, now you're muted.
Someone's muted Cara.
Hey.
There you go.
Sorry, Danny.
Danny's muting us.
So, I've definitely done the stalking thing, and I think it's a brilliant idea. I mean, and also interestingly, the other thing, obviously, I see a lot of my products out and about. So I actually go up and stalk people who are using my products, and they look at me like I'm insane because I'm going, oh, how are you finding it? And they're like going, huh? And I'm like, oh, I invented it. And they're like, oh, you know. But one of the things I think that we haven't mentioned at all, which I just think we should kind of bring it up, is also the fact that you can have like the best product in the world, you can have the best profit margins in the world, etc., but actually also you've got to have a good relationship with your manufacturer, because like that's what's kept me in business over the years. Because, you know, sometimes like you get hit by worldwide pandemics, for example, that just pop up out of nowhere. And you need to be able to have conversations with your manufacturer that are very open and honest. So building relationships with your customers, also remember that you're a customer and you should be building relationships with your suppliers, because I think that's something we don't probably talk about enough. And, you know, I've been working with the same manufacturer for 10 years. And without her, I would literally not be able to just go, hey, I want to do another product. I'm going to do another product. I'm going to do another product, because I could literally do products until they come out my ears, and it would take 5 minutes. And that sort of relationship, you know, is something that is really worth moving on.
Yeah, I mean, the last thing I ever want to do is get on a long flight over to China and spend 2 or 3 weeks away. Oh, well, you know, you're really lucky to have that relationship and not. But yeah, I do when I share with you. My husband might be listening. We do not have fun, Alicia. It's hard work the whole way. Yeah, but you know, it isn't always what I want to do. I don't want to be away from the kids for 3 weeks, but you cannot put a price on that relationship when you sit down.
And then COVID hit.
Huh?
Yeah. And then COVID hit. This was my year to go to China 10 years after I started.
Well, as soon as it's all done and dusted, hopefully on you get, because like you say, it's one of those relationships which can just take your business from strength to strength. It really can. And actually a pandemic like this has brought me so much closer to my suppliers, because we were sending face masks to each other to, you know, keep each other safe. I was sending them that way when they were in trouble, and then they were sending them this way when we were in trouble. And having conversations that had nothing to do with businesses or margins or lead times was really refreshing, and getting to know them on such a different level. But ladies, I want us to try and wrap this up. We've got a few minutes left. So we've all been done our presentations on Branded by Women. We've had 3 days of phenomenal content. I myself have not got through half of it, so I've got that access pass. I'm going to come back. Like, so for example, There's a couple of sessions on Instagram on there, one from Molly, one from Channing. There's a LinkedIn. I still have not mastered LinkedIn. No, don't go to my LinkedIn profile. It's absolutely rubbish. So I'm going to be coming back to those. And also, as I'm launching my new brand, there's a fantastic presentation on there on VAT changes coming up, which I'm going to need to know because it's all changed since I was last in business. So, you know, I just want to say, personally from me, you know, we can't let it go unsaid on the last night. What a phenomenal job Danny McMillan has done. And, you know, for putting this all together. And listeners, if you're listening, you do not appreciate the amount of stress and headache. Can you imagine having 30 women speakers phoning you, texting you, giving you grief? I mean, it's hard enough to deal with one woman sometimes, isn't it? So hats off to him. But ladies, any last words for the audience and Branded by Women, how you found the whole summit?
2021.
Yeah, there you go.
Poor Danny.
I thought it was amazing. I'm looking forward to watching all the presentations. I've made my way through a few of them. I'm so glad that I have the All Access Pass because there's just, you know, the business is constantly changing. And so to be able to have access to that information from all these experts, I'm really excited to go through. I know what I'm going to be doing this weekend.
Yeah, totally. Anyone else, Sylv?
I would say don't let COVID stop you in terms of your strategy and what you're building, because I feel that there's so many people like taking a backseat right now and just waiting, watching what's going to happen, that, you know, they're actually going backwards. So use that opportunity because 10 of them will probably disappear. So you can take that market share. So yeah, just, you know, listen to this whole you know, event. There's so many great speakers. Learn as much as you can, absorb the knowledge, and just go for it.
Yeah. Melanie?
Yeah, I would say I've listened to some of the presentation there. I think they were very good. I think for me, I was absolutely terrified with the whole thing at first, but you know, I think you guys that have put together this event, especially the first of its kind here in the UK, it's been absolutely amazing. And I thank you all for putting such great, powerful women out there to give such information. And I would say for people that are listening there, I just want to tell them that, you know, when a caterpillar thought it was the end of its world, it became a butterfly. So continue soaring and persevere. I know the times are hard for some people, and other people are having a fantastic time. Just persevere on the journey and be strong. We're going to come out on the other side much better.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Someone's also mentioned what an amazing job Kerry has done, which I think we also, it's been like herding cats. And how she stayed sane, I do not know. But thank you very much, Kerry.
Yeah, for those that you don't know, Kerry is Danny's right-hand woman who's been handling with all the admin and everything to bring this summit together. So like they say, there's always a very powerful woman doing it all behind the scenes. Absolutely. So ladies, I want to thank you so much for your time tonight and for coming on with me, and for everyone listening as well. If you haven't already, or if you haven't listened to all the content and you like what you see, then yeah, you want to get that upgraded pass so you can dig into it some more. I'm always doing it.
Get your all access in.
And there's bonuses if you do that. Bonuses, like for example, in my presentation, I talk about how to calculate ROI. Then I actually created a spreadsheet that allows you just to calculate it automatically.
Yeah, there's loads of bonuses in there, which would be great. Cara did a PDF, and yeah, there's loads in there. And we've got Danny back on. Yay!
Can I just quickly say, guys, I want to say a big thank you to my team. I know I seem to get the credit because people know me through seller sessions and stuff, but literally this week I got out their way. So I put a team together. They delivered. They've worked 7 days a week for 7 weeks. They've slept 3 to 5 hours a night, if that. So I want to say a big thank you for the team. I stepped aside. Kerry's led the charge. Milan's led the charge. Arabella's led the charge. Giselle, Alex, and everyone, Ben as well on the team. So it's not me that's done this. It's done by you guys leading the charge in terms of empowering women. But I want to say a massive thank you to my team. Literally, as I said, when you can build a great team, you can do a lot of things. So literally this week I just got out their way and they delivered. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well,
and
So much, Danny.
Yeah, I would say thank you also, Michele. What a great host. Honestly, you are brilliant. Thank you so much.
No, anyone who knows me, I just want to go under the table now. I'm going to be happy to be off the screen now for a long time. But
when we met at China Magic all those years ago, you literally said you would never be front and center, ever.
No, well,
she took some cokes in. Like when we were putting this together, she took some cokes in when I said you're going to be one of the lead like hosts on it. She said, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. So here she is today. So she's grown a lot.
Great.
Yes.
There's a new podcast coming apparently.
Yeah.
not a chance.
Michelle's stories, yeah.
Not a chance. What do they say? Never say never on live on air because it'll come back.
Yeah. I think you just muted your mic, Michele. Okay, just to let everyone know, also, we're going to do an encore. So we'll open up again for one day only on Sunday. As long as you've signed up, you'll get an email tomorrow. They'll give you another 24-hour access to access the 3 days of content to some of the stuff that you've missed.
Danny, you messaged me about that and you said Sunday and then you went, oh, sorry, Saturday. So
no, so what I'm saying is we'll send the message out tomorrow so everyone is well prepared. Because one of the things that we tried to do, which I don't think any other conference is done or summit is done, is to land in everyone's inbox in every country at 9 a.m. across the world, which is what's put a lot of pressure on our team to try and break that mold to reduce confusion. But so there are people that may have missed some of the sessions because of the time difference in some of the zones. So what we're going to do, we'll open up on Sunday so you can scoop up and go and replay some of the sessions that you've maybe seen and want to see again, or the ones that you missed. All right.
Yeah. Okay. That's amazing. That is amazing.
Cool. Michele, your mic is seems to be
sign
muted.
language.
She's using sign language now. You've cut your mic.
is it on your
Hold on. Let me. I'm gonna right. Speak again, Michele. Can't hear you. I'm gonna mute and then unmute. Can we hear you now?
Right, do a sign.
Do a sign. Write us a note, Michele. Go through the round window.
What's it? My name is whatever, that song.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So shall we sign off now, guys? Yeah.
TikTok. Is anyone on TikTok?
Yeah.
I'm a TikTok shade. Didn't do anything on it yet.
Well, just to let you know, guys, tomorrow back 4 p.m. Alicia, we're going to go in depth with Alicia tomorrow. So make sure you check out that show. Again, we'll be back in 2021, bigger and better. We're going to take all the learnings from this event. Thank you to all the speakers. Thank you to everyone involved. We'll sign off now. Again, just thank you to everyone. And we're going to try and go and get some sleep, me and my team. I've hoped you enjoyed the conference, and we'll look forward to seeing you again. Take care.
And you deserve it. Have a good night.
Bye.
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 Bye.